Welcome to my nightmare. I'm not rushing things by any means. I'm being prepared. This is the old little Trinity boiler. What you call it? NTI. Every year I take it apart, clean up the heat exchanger. I got it really clean, but I see wetness in there and I ain't figured that out if the heat exchanger is leaking water into it yet or not. It is 12 years old, I guess. This year, 2006 and 18 is 12, yeah. So I got to starting to put it together after I cleaned it out. Went over into the other room and I turned on the thermostat. And what do I got to show you? Right here is a little Venturi that goes down here. Oh hell, I'll give it away. I'll give it away. I'm going to show you. If you're squeamish, don't look. This is the fresh air intake coming from outside. That goes in there. Whoops, opposite way. Like this. And then this Venturi goes in here, in that hole, into here. It gives you the fresh air. And these little lines actually are for your, to tell it it's getting enough fresh air. The air belt. Well, Troy had told me that he was sitting on the pooper one day, because you know, this is the pooper room too, and you could hear birds in there this summer. And I told him I was going to check this thing out. And he's like, "Hey boss," he says, "I think I heard birds in that pipe." I was pooping one day, and he says, "I think I heard birds in that pipe." I'm like, okay. So last year I had one in there too, and it wouldn't fire, clogged up the intake. So this year I did the same thing. Pulled it apart. Right there. Took my vacuum. Sure enough, stuck it in there, pulled out a bird. Put it all back together thinking, hey, I'm happy as a clam. We're ready to go now, buddy. I'm happy as a clam. Put everything back together, cleaned it up. And sitting here going, woof. Woof. It wouldn't. The lighter would light, and it would puff, and that was it. Thinking, what the hell? I don't get it. So I just, you know how the mechanics are. I started taking it apart again. And in this little Venturi, I show you. Now you better turn away if you don't like dead things. There's 5 of them. This one glued itself to the other one, but there's 4 of them. One of them was in the pipe, but these other 4 were stuffed in this little pipe here. So all I can say is I'll be darned. But it's in the 60s out. It's end of what is it? End of September, and I'm just putzing around figuring I better get this done and just get ahead of the game before it gets cold, because I always start the boiler up as it starts getting cold. You got to get this concrete warm, as the whole floor is heated, and I just keep it at a lower temperature. But I just figured, I don't know, I was about to give up, and I thought I'm going to take it apart again, and I took it apart further, because otherwise the furnace guy would have been here and I'd have spent $500 for a service call. And I'm cheap, so that worked out. So poor birdies. I'm going to have to stuff something in there in the summertime. That's the 2nd year now. They make little screens too, but they claim them from drawing so much cold air they can freeze up and stop the flow too in the winter time. So I'll just make a hat for it for summer and keep them out of there. Alright, thanks for watching. Check your furnace ins and outs, vents, intake, and exhaust. You may save somebody's life. Okay. Did I ever tell you guys that the boss's job is never done? This is what we do on our weekends and stuff. It's Friday night after 5, so I'm just bringing you back to show you, prove that this puppy works. So I'm going to turn her on. And we're going to watch. She's lazy. And she stayed lit. Look at that. First try. Yep, you hear it ramping up. Yep. She's ramping up. What that does right here is controls that's an air switch. If that isn't getting the air, that ain't gonna let the gas valve, there's a tube right there, it ain't gonna let the gas valve open and let gas flow in, because it isn't getting enough combustion air. If I didn't explain that before, that's what's going on. So them birdies were right here. So first time of the season, she's gonna creep, and I'm gonna let her run for a while. So I think maybe we'll punch out now. All right. Thanks for coming along. And another thing, it works. Put the cover on it. I got a question for you guys out there in La La Land. This is an NTI. Okay, 12 years old. Let's just not go into why it's prematurely going to fail. Somehow the installation didn't have that extra circulating pump in it, and blah blah blah. No big deal. Over and done with. What I want to know from you guys, if any of you out there have experience with the combi, this is actually could be a combi boiler, with the McLean's newest ones. I'd like some feedback, because I'm thinking I gotta keep these around. I got an igniter all the time on the shelf, and I've got the flame sensor, which is just common stuff, but I keep them around all the time. When they redid the system in the plumbing, because that circulating pump wasn't in there, it was on high fire all the time, and I think it prematurely killed it, but that's beside the point. I had the guy put in 2 runs, so what I'm thinking about doing is getting me a new version, so that's 12 years old, Maybe it'll last another 2 or 3 years. But if any of you have have a Well McLean, the newest version, they're always a good brand. They used to have the cast iron boilers and whatnot. I'd like to mount one here. I've done some research, but I'm just looking for some experience out there. If anybody has one that runs their shop or whatever, so I could set it there, plumb it all up when the time comes, switch the wires over to the pumps, turn the valves, turn it on, off it goes. It'd be a backup, but it would turn into the new one when this one finally craps out. Yeah, you get an 18 when they get to 12. I don't know, whatever. Just send me some notes if you got anything, any comments of anybody who's had those DeVille McLeans. Alright.